Hello, my name's Emmet Kennedy. How are you? I'm usually quite boisterous.
Competition time on the Final Furlong podcast. To say thank you for listening and watching the show, I've got a pair of tickets to give away for one of the best days racing of the year, the Coolmore Nunthorpe Day at the York Ebor Festival. I've got 2 badges worth £156 for an unforgettable day this Friday, where you'll get to see the Weatherby's Hamilton Lonsdale Cup, the Albasti Equiworld Dubai Gimcrack Stakes, and the rematch between Asaphora and Big Evs in the Coolmore Wootton Bassett Nunthorpe Stakes. It's round 3. You don't have to watch it on television. You don't have to listen to it on the radio. You can be there in person. I want this to be won by a subscriber to the show, not some random guesser on X. So tweet me a screenshot of you subscribed to the Final Furlong podcast for your chance to win. You can tweet at Radio Emmet or at Final Furlong Pod on X. DM us there or DM us on our Facebook page. Links to our social media are in the podcast episode description. But get your entries in fast because we'll announce the winner on Tuesday. Thank you for listening to the Final Furlong podcast. Thank you for watching the show. We can't do it without you. Your support is much appreciated. And it's all courtesy of ourselves and yorkracecourse.co.uk. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Now back to the show. The Final Furlong podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks Bet. Join the excitement and sign up to Jeff Banks online now to get 10% off any net losses returned as cash after your first month of betting up to £500 at jeffbanks.bet. Welcome back to the Final Furlong podcast. Joining us live at the Curragh, man who needs no introduction, one of the best betting minds in the business, but because it's broadcasting, we have to do an introduction for you. Gavin Lynch, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Emmet. Thank you.
We do want to hear about the Curragh to Curragh cycle.
Yes.
The importance of it, the significance of it, what it means to you, and the massive amount of money that you've raised for cancer services in Ireland. But it's a racing show, and we're in the middle of the flat season.
You're involved in racing, are you?
Just a little bit, yeah. And I believe you've got a very successful website too, which may very well be up and running right now, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit. But we're at the home of flat racing, the Curragh HQ. This interests you, but you don't bet on flat racing in the way you used to.
No, this year and last year I haven't bet on the flat at all, really.
Why?
I always did, and it was profitable, but nowadays the morning prices are not great. It takes a huge amount of work. I don't want to be a busy fool. And the rewards, the previous couple of years before I stopped betting on the flat, they were okay, but it just for the hundreds and hundreds of hours that you put into it, I just didn't think it was worth it. I've ran out of accounts. And it's just a lot of work for small money. So I just said, you know what? I've been doing it for 20, 30 years, whatever it is. I don't want to die of a heart attack. So it's no harm to give it a break.
Well, we might be able to get you sorted out with a Jeff Banks account. I'm sure he'd be delighted to be laying Gavin Lynch bets.
Look, the only thing is, the best thing about it is that it means that you're nice and fresh coming into October time.
Yeah.
And that you're not jet lagged and you're not fed up of looking at videos all day, every day. And so it means that your enthusiasm starts again.
Well, was there ever a point where you were trying to decide between which of the two? Like, was it always going to be jumps racing over the flat?
I suppose most Irish people are into the national hunt. I am. My dad was. All my friends are. So I'm passionate about national hunt racing. I thought flat racing is great. Ireland does a great job internationally, but I just wouldn't have the same passion. And the other thing is that in the summertime, I've got kids, play a bit of golf, holidays and various things. It's hard to fit everything in. Whereas in the wintertime, it's hard to play golf, it's hard to go cycling, it's hard to do a lot of things with the weather. So it's brilliant to have national hunt racing. Like when you're in the depths, it's a lovely day today, but I'm saying when you're in the depths of December and January, you're so thankful that you've got national hunt racing to fall back on and to have an interest in, where it's easier with the good weather to give up flat racing.
There's something about those misty winter mornings as well, when you're just getting really excited about the Willie Mullins hot pots that are going to be unleashed at Ferryhouse and Leopardstown.
Praying that Navan passes the frost inspection.
Yeah, is this French import that David Pipes got, is it going to be any good? Is this new star that Paul Nicholls has going to be any good? Has Harry Derham unleashed another star? There's so many interesting facets and dynamics to it. That being said, jumps racing, like for all that we love it, and we're very enthusiastic about Cheltenham, it's amazing to me how many people have been in touch to say next year already they'll come to the Dublin Racing Festival, but when it comes to Cheltenham, they're either going to go to Spain or they're going to the pub for the week.
I was one of the first ones to do that. I've done that for years, to go to different places to watch Cheltenham because I've been to it so often that I just wanted something different. But certainly I would say that Cheltenham has lost 10% of its halo,
So I feel like I was wrong about this. That's the 4 days, really, isn't it? Because I was really in favour of
I wouldn't blame
those
the 4 days, no.
You wouldn't?
Personally, I wouldn't. I think it's massive crowds. People feel like they're not getting brilliant value for money. And nowadays with social media, the fact that somebody might pay, I don't know what the price, I'm guessing, but if somebody pays £7 for a pint, and the next thing it gets retweeted 500 times, everybody's giving out. Whereas 10 or 15 years ago, if somebody paid £7 or £8 for a pint, they'd no mechanism to vent their anger. So it's easier for the majority of the public to find out about these things. So I think that it's a case of, it's like if you've been to Cheltenham 5 or 6 times, are you going to go every year? Or are you going to give it a break for a year and then go back the next year? But it is quite expensive, so that's part of it too. Yeah,
I kind of feel like National Hunt Racing, and particularly Cheltenham, has really taken the fans for granted. There was just this assumption that, first of all, they wanted to get new fans that really they were never going to be able to cater for and never really going to be able to attract. And if they could, they might get them there for 1 or 2 meetings, but they were never going to be actual racing fans. And instead of just embracing the ones they had, the really dedicated fans, they just expected them to keep paying top dollar for a watered-down, diluted product.
Yes. As I said to you, I don't think the 4 days is probably a factor, all right, but I don't think it's the crucial one. But, you just can't take the public for granted forever. No. Look at Cheltenham, I love it. It's the best 4 days racing of the year, there's no doubt about that. It's still amazing, but it's probably lost the shine off the halo.
Even the Wednesday, when things were a little bit dour because it was still the Irish domination and it was the death of British racing, and then the Thursday comes along and suddenly all is forgiven with Nichols and Dan Skelton in the Winners' Enclosure and Jeremy Scott. Suddenly it's all recovered because of a couple of races. But even the Wednesday I actually enjoyed. Like, you build up to that for an entire year. I just think that when there's such a focus on Cheltenham and everything is all about that Cheltenham Festival, those 4 days, if those 4 days then don't deliver, if you don't get the epic clashes, if you don't get the really epic moments, then the whole sport begins to dwindle.
It can do. Like, if you look at the champion chase for the last few years, it's kind of fallen apart the last...
It was a terrible running last year. Well done, Captain Guinness, but my God.
Yeah. El Fabiolo doesn't finish, but the previous couple of years, Ennett Gameen didn't have a lot to beat either. So, but these things happen. You're not going to have brilliant race all the time, but you do get brilliant performances at Cheltenham. Ballyburn was amazing. The Galopin Des Champs at the Gold Cup, he's just an amazing racehorse. So you do get special moments, but in terms of titanic finishes, there's less of those, yeah.
What do you do with Ballyburn? You're in Willie Mullins' war room. You're in there with the great and the good, Ruby, Patrick, everyone's getting their say. Ronnie Bartlett wants to go whichever direction. You've got the final say. What do you do, hurdling or chasing?
If I was Ronnie Bartlett, I'd just say, what are you thinking, Willie? Because that's what you're going to get. You're not getting any say, really. But he's 6-year-old. I would imagine he'd have to go chasing.
Yeah.
Like, he has Lozzie Mouth for the champion hurdle. He has Stateman. Maybe he'll go with the champion hurdle, but he's already 6. So that means next March he's 7 for a novice chase, whether it be probably the Turners. And then he's going for a Gold Cup at 8. You can't go for a Gold Cup, your first Gold Cup at 9, really. I've always banged the drum about age. But you need, like, Galopin Des Champs won his first Gold Cup at 7. Alboum Photo ran first time out in France at 3. Like, I think it's a bit crazy how old they get in terms of going for Gold Cup. So I think if he's going to go for a Gold Cup, he has to go chasing now, and then he'll get to a Gold Cup when he's 8. And if he stays, he's going to have a massive, massive chance because he's a brilliant racehorse.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see him with his head down, come to every fence, and then up again. And especially in the Turners, because in the Turners, the first couple of fences are very, very quick. So he'd want to lift his head quite quickly. So
do you think that's what they'll do? If he does go chasing, that's what they'll do, is go down the intermediate route?
I would imagine so, because, well, sure, we've seen that he's won whatever, a Ballymore, what's it called now?
Gallagher.
The Gallagher. He's won over 2.5 and he won a Punchestown over 2.5 or whatever. So I think that the RSA, which is the Brown Advisory, I'm forgetting all the names because it's the middle of the summer, I can't remember. But I think that what happened Monkfish, and I just don't know if the Brown Advisory is the perfect route for every Gold Cup horse.
Yeah, even Cool Down didn't come back to himself after winning that back in the day.
Rule Supreme did, but anyway, that's okay.
That's true.
I'm only messing. But it just doesn't always suit every horse. And if you've got a really amazing horse such as Ballyburn, perhaps they'll go Turners, but we'll see.
Is David Casey still the first Christmas card every year?
For my brother John, I'd say so.
25-1, thanks to
the one thing I'll say about Ballyburn is, please, it doesn't matter to me, but I wouldn't be listening to the stable tours.
Oh, God.
Because
you reminded me about this off air.
Yeah, so last year at one stage when Gaelic Warrior won in Punchestown, there was a big talk about the Stairs Hurdle, and he was 3-1 favourite for that. Then it came to the stable tour in, say, October, and he was going to be a perfect Brown advisory horse. Then, it's whatever's best for the owner and the trainer, and that's it. The public have no rights whatsoever, in my opinion.
We have a right to question it, though.
Yeah,
and, but we laugh about it. I mean, that's the ultimate Willie Mullins bingo.
We'll come back to the thing in a minute, but he then wins his beginner's chase in Punchestown, mad impressively. It was a 2-3 or 2-4. So Willie was thinking maybe more of the turners. And in the back of my head, I said, he showed such gears. I remember saying it to a few people. He could end up in an Arkle, and that's what he won. So in the end, after all the talk, the right decision was made, and that's all that matters to Willie. He doesn't care, and I think he's right. If I was him, I'd carry on the same way. Decide as late as possible, and the public... Okay, I know we keep racing going, and I'm a member of the public, and I'd love to know exactly. The great thing about Gordon Elliott is that when he tells you where horses may go in October, they generally, not always, but 80% of the time, they kind of, you can see his mind ticking, that he's going to go to this horse to the National Chase, and you can see kind of what he's thinking. But with Willie, he makes it up on the fly, and I think he's right. And what I can't believe is when Shishkin said didn't run once or twice at Sandown and stuff, and that the public were going mental. Like, it's totally Nicky's decision, and he has to do best for the horse and the best for the owner and himself. So tough. Yeah, but there is a perception with Nicky that it's becoming a little bit like you're wrapping them in cotton wool, that you don't really want to run these horses. It's almost problem. As though he's trying to find an excuse to run them as opposed to not run them. I think Nicky is too nice. Nicky shouldn't be given so many quotes. I agree. I know has he a Unibet column? Is that he does. Yeah. And like he's giving quotes every week, and but they should know better as well, because they're like, you want to get maximum for your investment. I get that, but at the same time, you're not doing your brand ambassador any favors by constantly saying, "Oh yeah, Nicky has said he's going to go for the Tingle Creek. He said that Shishkin is going to go for the Fighting Fifth. Oh, actually, no, he's never going to go for the Fighting Fifth." But I think Nicky's just too nice. Yeah, I'd say he's a lovely man, fantastic man. He's a brilliant guy. But I think that he'd be better off saying less, simply because it's easy to contradict yourself a week later or ground, or if the horse didn't scope great or he didn't work brilliant. Yeah. And, maybe you don't want to tell people that he was lame or whatever. But he's just too nice a guy, I think. You mentioned Gordon and Willie and their different approaches. Gordon strikes me as much more of a target trainer. That's it. He has national chases in mind. That's where that horse is going to go. There's no deviation to Brown advisory or switching to a Turner's, whereas Willie approaches it completely differently. I think that going back 10, 15 years, their DNA were different. Gordon Elliott started with a much lower graded horse to begin with, and he was targeting Perth and he was targeting different places to get wins for the horses, which was a fantastic idea, and it worked so well for him. So he has always been a target trainer. Willie from day one has always just gone for the best race, the grade ones. Like he has won grade ones at 25-1. He's won the bumper with outsiders. Do you know what I mean? So just their beginnings were, I suppose, a bit different. So Gordon has always been a target trainer, but now he's targeting with grade one horses and stuff. So, but he's a super trainer. It's also different for Willie and this is no slight on any other trainer, but he's got so much firepower that he has to keep it flexible. So for Aidan O'Brien on the flat, it's very, very simple. You're going for the big group ones because you have to win those big group ones to justify. One major owner, we call the lads, Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're all in agreement. Yeah. There's no specialist treatment for one horse over the other. Now, there will be for City of Troy against Auguste Rodin, but Auguste Rodin's on a recovery mission this year. But it's very clear pattern. You are going to go for this race because you have to. It's a stallion-making race. These are not stallion-making races. No. So, and Cheltenham has been watered down so much that it's... If what we were told about Cheltenham is true, that all that matters is winning there, well, then it doesn't matter if it's the Arkle is the more prestigious race. You're still going to go for the Turners because that's the easier one to go for. A couple of things you're saying there about Cheltenham is that, like, some of the prize money at Cheltenham is terrible. Oh. Like, shocking for the bumper and the handicaps and whatever. So that should be higher, but it doesn't matter. Some of the owners that have these horses with Willie, etc., they don't care if they get €5. You were saying there about Willie, like, I remember my brother John had various horses with him, and we were down with Willie's a few times, and I remember standing behind Willie with my brother the dog is there barking. The horse, they used to come up in twos. I don't have to come up in twos anymore, but this is like 10, 15 years ago. And they were coming up in twos, and then he'd say, those two didn't work great now. And then the next two would come up, and they worked well. And we're going,
what are you seeing?
Like, before a horse that just came past looked identical in terms of how they worked, honestly. And we're going, and then he's, yeah, they were okay. No, I didn't like them too. And we're going, what is he? Like, just a genius, do you know?
Yeah.
Stuff that you can't teach. It's in his eye.
He's seeing something, as I tell you to eat the microphone, he's seeing something that we're just not seeing.
Yeah.
I still remember that Patrick Mullins story on the final furlong of Tell Us More. And at the time, he was the most expensive horse in the yard, I think 280 grand or something like that, but it was sterling. So the Queen's finest sovereign, so worth an awful lot more than the euro. And like, where's this horse going to go? He costs so much money. Obviously, he's going to win everything. And Patrick's point was that he was very backward and he would need time. And so when he came into the yard, he was saying, we won't see him till next year. And Willie went, yeah, there's a bumper in Gordon in 2 weeks. We're going to run him there. I was just like, what are you talking about? No. Wins by a wide margin.
That's the Doc Doyle bumper.
Yeah, he can see something that most people just don't. And that's what separates him from everybody else.
Yeah. The best thing that ever happened to Willie Mullins was Gigginstown leaving.
I agree.
Because when Willie buys a horse now for 300 grand or 200 grand or 100 grand in France or whatever, or a point to point, he can now ring one of 8 fellas.
Yeah.
Whereas back then he could only ring Rich Ritchie or Gigginstown or JP or whatever. But now he can ring 8 fellas. So every time he buys 8 horses, they get one each perhaps, or, you know. So he's more owners that he can ring.
Well, I'd imagine it's so strong now that he just buys the horse himself and then whoever wants it gets it. Whoever comes first.
Yeah, I'd say he'll have no problem in finding somebody to hand over the money.
Yeah. This is a paid advertisement from BetterHelp Therapy Online. What are your self-care non-negotiables? Maybe you never skip leg day or therapy day. When your schedule is packed with kids' activities, big work projects, and more, it's easy to let your priorities slip. Even when we know what makes us happy, it's hard to make time for it. But when you feel like you've no time for yourself, non-negotiables like therapy are more important than ever. If you've ever been in therapy, then like me, you know how beneficial it can be. But it's not just for those who've experienced major trauma. It's helpful for learning positive coping skills and setting boundaries. Therapy empowers you to be the best version of yourself. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a registered therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. With almost 5,000 therapists in the UK already, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a wide variety of expertise. Visit betterhelp.com/furlong today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/furlong. This is a paid advertisement by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/furlong to get 10% off your first month and get on your way to being your best self. The Final Furlong podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks Bet, where tradition meets cutting-edge technology, and with major flat racing festivals on the horizon and the new jump season about to kick off properly, it's time to leave behind the corporate bookmakers who don't value your loyalty. At this point, you've got to be fed up of their restrictions, endless affordability checks, and losing out on incentives just because you dare to win a bet. Jeff is the bookmaker fighting for your right to bet, giving you the freedom to enjoy British and Irish racing the way it should be, and you can watch all that racing on the Jeff Banks Bet app. So say goodbye to bookies who want you to lose your hard-earned money on their online casinos, and say yes to unbeatable odds and a bookmaker that truly values your custom, Jeff Banks Bet. Final Furlong podcast listeners who sign up to Jeff Banks Online using the promo code FFP500 can get 10% of any net losses returned as cash after your first month of betting, up to £500. It's an offer you won't see anywhere else. Visit jeffbanks.bet today and enter promo code FFP500 and join the excitement. That's jeffbanks.bet using promo code FFP500, because your betting experience deserves more. Adam Mills has been a regular guest on the show, and he does like in-depth, unbelievable encyclopedic knowledge of French racing and where these horses are being sourced. And his opinion is the French breeders and the French producers, they all want Willie buying the horses.
Okay. Well, they know they're going to get the best result then.
Exactly. And you're going to have a mare that's going to have a sibling to that horse you've just sold, or there's going to be a sibling already that'll be ready to be sold in a few months' time, or that will be ready for next year's sale. And Willie is the one who's most likely to win a Grade 1 with that horse. So you're going to increase those values. The only other one may be Nicky, because Nicky's got an incredible record with those juvenile hurdlers, but they all want Willie to be the one. So it's not just that he has a great network, it's that they're incentivized to want him to have these horses because he has such success with them.
Yeah, Willie has an amazing record, network rather, in France. You don't see Gordon getting near as many from France as Willie does, But obviously,
and he's a phenomenal trainer.
Phenomenal, yeah. And you do see Gordon buying them at the sales, and point to points mostly is where he seems to be getting his. So, yeah, it'll be an interesting season, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with these 60 races. I personally thought it was a good idea.
I did too. I listened to Jane Mangan and Nick Luck talking about it today. And
what did they say?
I think it was yesterday's show, but I was hearing it today, and they were surprised that the boys apparently are going to take legal action.
Are they going to?
Like
right.
it.
Is it against...
Wasn't there 1,400 races run in Ireland last year over jumps? Okay. What does 60 matter?
I think it's a good idea because the smaller trainer, then you're going to get maybe a syndicate that's going to win a race that wouldn't have won the race otherwise. And it can't just be about the top 6, 8, 10 trainers. It should be about more than that. So I think it's a good idea, but sure, we'll see what happens. It'll be fun anyway.
You could make the argument that Henry de Bromhead and Gavin Cromwell have been very harshly treated here because they didn't have over 100 winners, whereas Gordon and Willie both had over 200. So why are they the ones being punished?
Well, you couldn't start bringing the rule for more than 150 and more. Like, it's going to get confusing, isn't it? But look, 4 brilliant trainers. I thought it was a good idea, but look, see what happens.
There's already races that have restrictions on them. There's races limited to certain jockeys of a certain level of ability.
Yeah, they do that in the summertime.
Sales races.
Yeah, there is. In the summertime, there's a lot more races for jockeys that have ridden 10 winners or less.
Yeah.
And I think this year, I think I'm right in saying that maybe the last couple of weeks in June, there was no national hunt racing, and if there was, it was only for those jockeys and stuff.
That's right.
So it meant that jockeys like Paul Town and Jack Kennedy could go off for a couple of weeks and not feel guilty about missing a Kilbeggan meeting or whatever, So I think that the welfare for jockeys is a lot better now than it was, say, 10 years ago. There's more days off and stuff, which suits them.
Yeah, very much so. And they're even starting to do that more in the UK, which is good. But I still think there needs to be a proper break of summer jumps racing because the industry's just stretched to the limit. It's crazy. Before I come to the big conversation, Gold Cup, Galopin Des Champs, Fact to File. I know the way you're thinking, who you did us a major favour with us on the podcast. Thank you very much for that one.
You did me a favour too. But
Corbett's Cross, there's so much talent coming through. Great awning. It
was a tough Cheltenham for punters, but thankfully, I know the way you're thinking, did us a small favour. There's a lot of horses coming through. I think that Galopin Des Champs sets a huge standard. He's a 180 horse and he's a proper 180 horse. If you look at his record going left-handed, it should be 9 from 9 since the Martin Pipe, and including the Martin Pipe, except for when he fell in the Turners when he was going to destroy Bob Bollinger. So I think left-handed is the key to him. Letting him sit up at the pace seems to have suited him. It was hilarious that when he was a novice, he was too keen. Remember when he won his beginner's chase in Leopardstown? He was amazing that day. That's literally the best beginner's chase you've ever seen. And he was out in front. And then I remember asking Ruby on a Cheltenham preview night, I said, Ruby, if he's going to win a Gold Cup, what's going to happen with tactics? He said he'll have to learn to settle or he can't win a Gold Cup. Yeah. So the first year in open class, they tried to get him to settle and he did, and he won the Gold Cup. And then last year they were able, because he got so settled, they were able to ride him more aggressively, and we saw that in Leopardstown, we saw it in Cheltenham. I think he sets a huge standard. He's only turning 9, he's 8 now, and I think the others have a fair mountain to climb to get to his level. They all look really good, fact file, etc., but you're not just beating a 170 horse now, you're coming to a proper 180 going left-handed. I think he's the best since Cato Star, yeah.
I'd agree, absolutely. And even Jerry Colom's owner, Brian Atchison, has said that on numerous occasions. He's the best since Cato. Jerry, to be fair to him, he really turned the corner. He was going to be Don Poley, Don Slowly 2.0, and suddenly he's completely turned that around now with a really good run in the Gold Cup, massive run. And then he was very, very brave and very classy in Aintree.
Yeah.
The race that stands out for him is the most obvious one. Everybody can think of it. I just don't know if it appeals to Gordon, but he'd win the Betfair Chase.
He probably would, yeah. He'd love the conditions in Haydock, etc., etc. But why is he going to beat Galopin Des Champs next year?
He won't.
It's I couldn't believe the previous year people were talking about Statler beating Galopin Des Champs because he'd ran so well against him in Leopardstown. I know, I'm not trying to be smart, but
Oh, we've all been wrong. Listen, I've been wrong.
Geez, I'm wrong.
Don Foley had my heart, and it affected my bank balance negatively.
Yeah, at least he won. He won the RSA, didn't he?
He did. Yeah.
But I just think one of the others will have to improve hugely to get Galopin Des Champs.
I agree.
Left-handed, that's the key.
So of the ones we've mentioned, I know the way you're thinking, Corbett's Cross, Grey Dawning, the most obvious is Factifile.
Factify is the most obvious. I think that Grey Dawning, I don't think is good enough. I don't know if Corbett's Cross will stick at that trip or not. There was talk that he might drop down and trip a little bit. I know the way you're thinking, loved him in Cheltenham and Aintree, etc., etc., etc. But his jumping will have to improve a lot.
Yeah.
Like his jumping in the Kimure, was the Kimure he won, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In the Kimure, like in the first 5 jumps, it was heart in the mouth stuff.
It was Derek got him around that day.
Derek was amazing on him. And now he had a lot in hand because he's a class act. But his jumping will have to be quick to have any chance against Galopin Des Champs.
Yeah.
That brings us to Factifile. I don't think he won a crash hot. Brown Advisory. By the looks of the interviews, it looked like JP must have backed him the way AP and a few others were talking. So
I can't imagine he backed him anti-post because that's just not going to be a liquid enough market for him. But how could you be so right but so wrong? Katie Young, George Gorman, myself, the 3 of us, absolutely adamant this horse will win at Cheltenham. But we were adamant he'd win the Turners.
He would have won the Turners, I'd say. Yeah.
Oh, he'd have won it doing handstands.
Yeah.
But we were right about Ballyburn, and we were right about him for the Gallagher. We knew that was the race he was going to go for all along.
That's one issue about anti-post for Cheltenham is, backing a horse at 10-1 for 2 races, and he wins one of them. It's a 9-2 winner.
Yeah.
So you can't be telling your friends that you backed a 10-1
No,
winner.
it doesn't work that way.
Don't be at that.
You can lie to yourself.
Yeah, but you're lying to yourself.
But that's what you're doing.
And you're lying to your friends.
Yeah.
You didn't back a 10-1 winner. You didn't.
And you know this...
If you have 10 quid at 10-1, you get back 110, you spend 20, you win 90, it's a 9-2 winner.
So I guarantee you this is a conversation that's been had in pubs across the UK and Ireland. And I guarantee you there are lads who have been saying, I backed him for Cheltenham, Which race? And they would hold mad tough and not actually say until the day. And they'd be, I had the 10-1 for that. No, you didn't.
So the thing as well is it's getting very tricky now with which race horses are going to. It's not as clear as it used to be. I suppose because Willie is so dominant. Like Ballyburn, there was a lot of talk that he was going to go for the Supreme and he ends up in the Gallagher, etc., etc., etc. So that's going to happen again this season. So I think we have to keep our powder dry for a bit longer. Well,
my only advice there is just watch out for that. Because there were people that are close to the Mullins camp, not Willie. Willie never gave any indication of which race
and
he was going to
go
for.
Properly.
Yeah.
Now, in the stable tour, he might say, he might go here and he might go there.
Yeah, early in the season. He's
only talking.
The only other time I remember this vividly was he really wanted Sir de Champs to go for what is now the Brown Advisory. And the O'Learys were adamant, no, you're going for what is now the Turners, because they had first lieutenant. And he didn't get his way. But it actually worked out better for him because he realised, it's Staying Chaser can win this race and it can be beneficial to the long-term development. But there were people very closely associated with the Mullins camp that are doing prominent punditry that were all saying, no, Supreme. Oh, don't even worry about Supreme. No, just be careful.
It's a guessing game is the best way to phrase it. But you can't complain if you back the horse for the wrong race, it's tough. It comes with a wealth warning beforehand and a health warning.
It's a Niall Ferguson line. I like that one. So who is the big danger in your mind then to GDC?
To Galopin Des Champs. Galopin Des Champs. I think if he gets there and he's fully fit and he's in great order, I think he'll take a lot of whacking. I'm not saying I'll back him now at 3-1 or whatever price he is, 5-2. I don't know what price he is, but I probably won't because on the day he's not going to be odds on if some of those have won.
Yeah,
and he's a better bet at 5-4 on the day than he is now at 5-2 or 3-1. In terms of he's had a good season, he's won it. He'll probably get beat maybe in the John Durkin. Maybe I don't know. It's right-handed. I think he's 3 from 6 going right-handed since the Martin Pipe. But I would sooner back him at 5-4, 11-8 on the day if some of the others have won and he's not gone odds on. Yeah,
there's also a nice, if it was to go bad at the start of the season, if he did get beaten in the John Durkin and get beaten in the Savills, Paul Townsend's not getting off him because Mark Walsh is going to be on Factifile and the others are not with the Mullins camp. So he's still, there's no doubt that he switches.
And it's interesting that JP has 3 of the ones that you mentioned, Corbett's Cross, I know the way you're thinking, and Factifile. He's those three. So where they're all programmed to go during the season and kept apart and so on, that'll be really interesting.
Yeah, which one of them?
I wonder will one of those maybe go for the Betfair Chase just because JP owns the three of them.
You'd imagine. If one of them doesn't, I think that's actually a worry for that race. Talk to me about the first time you were on this show was Coast to Curragh.
Yes.
It's now Curragh to Curragh.
It's even more than that nowadays. So the first charity day was in 2021, was the Coast to Curragh, as you said. The cycle has now become the Curragh to Curragh, but also the overall day has now become the Pat Smullen Race Day in aid of Cancer Trials Ireland, which is amazing. Because the first year we made 180 grand from a cycle, which is unheard of, right?
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so that was crazy. But you can't keep doing that, So what happened was, it's actually a good story, is after the first Coast to Curragh in 2021, Evan Arkwright, who works here at the Curragh, and Brian Kavanagh, we had a big chat, and they said, you know what? Why don't we try and make it a bigger day than just the cycle? We'll have more bits to it. Let's make it more like the Macmillan Trust Day in New York or something like that, So Evan says, come down, we'll have a chat. And I drove down to the Curragh, and we went to the coffee shop across the road. A month afterwards, it was October 2021. And this was totally unplanned, just total coincidence. So we're sitting there, and 5 minutes later, who walks into the coffee shop?
Frances
Smullen. Frances Crowley. Now, she had taken part in the cycle. She joined us at Giltown Stud.
She knew nothing about that meeting.
And she didn't know about the meeting, no. But I told everybody, we meet down there, and then we get told to come up to cycle. So I told everybody, including my two daughters, don't pass out Frances. She's going to be first over the line in the first cycle, and she was. And then a month later, as I said, totally by coincidence, in the coffee shop, she walks in. She goes, how are you lads? How are you Gavin? How are you Evan? How are you Frances? And we said, we're actually having a chat about making more of the day. Oh, really? Yeah. And she says, yeah, any help? And she's an amazing woman. She's
incredible.
Fantastic person. And she said, yeah, she'd be interested as usual. She's always a yes person. And we set up a committee. And then this is now, in 2022, we had the day. Last year, we had a brilliant day. And this year, we've got, again, it's our fourth year, and it's the Pat Smullen Race Day. So we've got 4 bits to it. There's the Curragh to Curragh cycle. So if you want to take part, you can do 10K, 20K. We're going to Myglaire Stud at 12 o'clock. We're going to Naas at 1:30. We're going to Punchestown. We're going to Giltown Stud. The 2 stud farms are amazing. It's worth coming on the cycle just to see the stud farms. AP Mackay will be on the cycle, plus 1 or 2 others. So you can join us for that if you want. There's also a 20-runner charity race here over the Derby course. And one of the jockeys last year, Kate Harrington, won it. Hannah Smullen was third, and this year Paddy Smullen is taking part, which is going to be...
well done.
Yeah, it's going to be emotional and it's going to be brilliant. So, fantastic fella again, lovely guy. We also have a raffle here in the Curragh, where it's 20 quid a ticket, and the first prize is a week in a fancy 4-star hotel in Spain, and the name of the hotel is called the Sunset Beach Club. I'll show you a picture of it.
I say.
That's nice, isn't it?
How controversial is it going to be when I win that?
That's going to reek. That's going to seem dodgy.
It'll be like the Father Ted raffles. It's just Father Dougal wins.
And then also, if you want to come to the Curragh on the 31st of August, you can buy a ticket for 50 quid, gets you admission to the race course. You can come up to the Oaks Room where all the people will be to do with the day, including some of the celebrities. And you also get a barbecue, and that's 50 quid, and some of that money goes to the charity. So you can come to the race course, you can buy a raffle ticket if you want, you can go on the cycle. You can't go in the 12 Furlong charity race because that's already booked, but you can support somebody if you happen to know somebody that's in the race. So instead of just having a cycle, this year we've got 4 bits to it. So that'll just tell you how the day is growing and growing. And so far we've raised 600,000 in 3 years, which is great.
That's phenomenal. That's incredible, Gavin. Did I read correctly, because I didn't bring any notes, because, professional broadcaster, You're supposed to look like you're spoofing through the entire broadcast.
Ad-libbing.
But not make it, yes, exactly, ad-libbing. Was it Woody Allen's line was before he became toxic and no one's allowed to mention him anymore? The best ad-libs are pre-prepared. No, they're not, by the way. They're absolutely not. The best ad-libs are just picked from thin air. But I'm pretty sure I read, and I'll have to edit this out if I'm wrong, that if you buy your ticket to be part of the cycle, not only do you get your entrance for the Curragh, but you get 2 additional tickets so that your friends can come along.
You should be in sales. You can.
So your friends can come along for free?
Yes, you can. Every cyclist gets 2 extra tickets.
Class.
And this year we're going to get the tickets off Evan next week, and we might post them out beforehand just to make things easy. And the reason why it's called the Curragh to Curragh is we start out at the Coast to Curragh, which is starting in Laytown. But just the logistics of it, people don't mind doing that for a year or two, but then the feedback was last year was getting a bit tricky. You have to get a lift from somebody to Laytown or Ferryhouse or Navan or wherever you joined, and then you have to get picked up in the Curragh. So this year we're starting at the Curragh, finishing at the Curragh, which means that people can come here in their car, park in the car park, you can have a shower afterwards, you can go racing if you want, and it just makes it easy, the logistics easier for people. All the sportives that are around the country every weekend in cycling, you usually start and finish at the same spot. So we said, that's a good idea, so that's why we're doing it.
Cancer's impacted everybody in Ireland and Britain. There's nobody that hasn't been in some way affected by it. It's the worst. I had the privilege of speaking to Pat twice on the show, and he was so brave and so honest. And one of the reasons it motivated me to talk to him was my own mother had been diagnosed with it, and she now has it again. Yes. And this time, the first time around was brutal, but she fought it very, very bravely and responded really well to the treatment and got through it. It seems now like got through it quite quickly. It wasn't. It was a dour experience. Then COVID happens. The whole world comes to a standstill. Yeah. But this is way worse. Okay. And it's just awful to see. Thank you. But it's...
She's 77, you were telling me earlier.
Yeah, I don't know where it must be that generation. Just they're tougher and classier, and they're able to take things.
Look at humans, when your back is to the wall, humans just have this resilience that you didn't know you had.
Yeah,
and
true.
My mum and dad are the same, so just people are resilient, and please God, she'll fight a good fight.
Oh, hopefully. But what I was amazed by it the first time Mum fought it, amazed by it with Pat. He just faced it with such bravery, and my mother is doing the exact same thing. I used to do a cancer broadcast years ago on 96 FM, which was like 10 years of radiothon, and was all for raising money for cancer services in Cork. And every single person I spoke to during that who had survived it, they all said you have to have a positive mental attitude. You have to approach this positively. Yeah. And that if you don't, it's game over. And you see that very, very clearly. But what does it mean to you? Why are you so engrossed in setting this up?
Yeah, just my mum had passed away from pancreatic cancer. Pat had the same illness that he died from 4 years ago now. I missed his race in 2019 here at the Curragh. I did contribute online. And I just thought...
That parade ring was... You couldn't move.
Yeah, massive. I seen it on TV and it was a massive crowd with kids and stuff on the day I couldn't get here. But I just thought we should do something. I had seen a programme on Racing TV about... Niall Hannity and Michael Chinner's cycling around some race courses in York. So I said, you know what? I woke up one morning at 7 a.m, opened up Google Maps, and I started making a plan about going here, there and everywhere to different race courses and stuff just to try and raise a few quid. So it's amazing how far the day has come. But the Curragh and Francis Crowley deserve massive credit because they've really pushed to the next level. So it's great.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And, one last thing to mention is that Cancer Trials Ireland... they now have a Pat Smullen chair at UCD, which the position has been filled and the details will be announced in the coming weeks. And as a result, Ireland, honest to God, is becoming a centre of excellence for pancreatic cancer research. So honestly, it will make a difference. It will make a difference as time goes by. People are with the trials, they're getting more time, and please God, they'll come with a big result eventually.
It's remarkable the research that's done in Ireland. This there's cancer trials research done in Cork. It's attached to UCC. They're phenomenal. And now what you've just mentioned with the Pat Smullen chair, that's incredible as well. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you, Emmet, and thanks for highlighting the day. It should be a great day.
Sorry for your loss with your mother, by the way. It's awful how everybody is touched with it.
It's 12 years ago, so time is the only slight healer is time, really.
Yeah. Even that, though.
It's not easy, yeah.
I really admired the Smullen family for all they're doing.
They're amazing people. Every one of them.
Sometimes the last thing you want to do is actually go back and face that again. But well done to them.
I know Hannah, Paddy, Francis, Ger, Pat's brother, Brian, etc. They're a brilliant family. Honestly, the Crowleys and the Smullens. Yeah.
Francis has reached out with some incredibly kind words to me, and she doesn't know me. Like, she didn't have to do that, but. Just an amazing person, incredible person. I admire them all so much. I admire the Curragh as well, by the way. They've put us here into the Galileo Lounge, sorted us out with this, even helped us with the broadcast equipment and all, which hopefully has all worked perfectly fine.
One of the best Irish Derby winners ever on the same track.
Yeah, what's your favourite Curragh memory?
Oh, favourite Curragh memory, Curragh maybe, or actually my dad had a horse once that he trained to be third in the Lincoln. There you go.
Class. Pin and two
that
bulls
was-
in
that
the
was-
Vincent O'Brien National Stakes.
That's yours?
Yeah, you didn't expect me to say a
I
British horse coming
No.
over here winning a Group 1. It was amazing. It was jaw-dropping stuff.
Great.
Okay, hopefully we'll have you on before the new jump season.
Ash will come back in October, November time, yeah.
Good man. Looking forward to it.
Great.
All right. Gavin Lynch.
Thanks, Emmet.
Website?
GavinLynchRacing.com.
GavinLynchRacing.com. Sign-ups available now?
From Friday the 16th. What date's the day? The 14th? Yeah.
Get on that.
Anyway, more importantly, the charity day. To mind that other stuff.
And you can find out information about tickets at the Curragh website. And
Yes.
Curragh to Curragh. Just Google Curragh to Curragh.
Yeah,
to come
you
up very
can
quickly.
either go to, we have two websites, coasttocurragh.ie or curragh.ie. It goes to the same page.
Perfect. All right. Support it. It very much deserves that support. Gavin Lynch, we'll talk to you again very,
Thank
very
you.
soon. Looking forward to it.
Cheers.
Thank you for watching and listening to the Final Furlong podcast. Hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, likes on social media. I should have said that at the start. I keep being told by Trish,
well.
say it at the start.
You're a dinosaur.
Oh, God. And thank you very much for listening on the podcast as well. We'll talk to you again very, very soon. Look after yourself and each other. God bless.
The Final Furlong podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks Bet. Join the excitement and sign up to Jeff Banks online now to get 10% off any net losses returned as cash after your first month of betting up to £500 at jeffbanks.bet. The Final Furlong podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks Bet, where tradition meets cutting-edge technology, and with major flat racing festivals on the horizon and the new jump season about to kick off properly, it's time to leave behind the corporate bookmakers who don't value your loyalty. At this point, you've got to be fed up of their restrictions, endless affordability checks, and losing out on incentives just because you dare to win a bet. Jeff is the bookmaker fighting for your right to bet, giving you the freedom to enjoy British and Irish racing the way it should be, and you can watch all that racing on the Jeff Banks Bet app. So say goodbye to bookies who want you to lose your hard-earned money on their online casinos, and say yes to unbeatable odds and a bookmaker that truly values your custom, Jeff Banks Bet. Final Furlong podcast listeners who sign up to Jeff Banks online using the promo code FFP500 can get 10% of any net losses returned as cash after your first month of betting up to £500. It's an offer you won't see anywhere else. Visit jeffbanks.bet today and enter promo code FFP500 and join the excitement. That's jeffbanks.bet using promo code FFP500, because your betting experience deserves more.